Hi, and welcome to the CDNify Podcast, where we discuss all things related to front-end optimization, web performance, and emerging technologies.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm here with James, our full-stack intern at CDNify, and today we're joined with Alex Garrett, founder of PHPAcademy, a free video web development course that teaches PHP, Laravel, Sass, and a bunch of other languages and tools. Today we're going to be chatting about PHPAcademy, the best places to start learning web dev, and why it's important to engage with the tech community. So to get things started, Alex, do you mind telling everyone a little bit about yourself and why you started PHPAcademy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started it back in 2009. I was at university at the time, and really I was sort of learning PHP myself and other sort of web development languages, and really just wanted to start teaching and thought it's probably going to be a good idea for me to start teaching it. I might learn a bit more, sort of, get some feedback on bits and bobs. So really just started a YouTube channel, not expecting it to go anywhere at all. Just sort of put some videos out there. And then I sort of left university, got a job as a web developer, and that helped on the front end side of things as well. I've been at a company called Perform for a few years now. And on the side, just carried on with PHPAcademy, and it's grown to what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, how many?
Is it over 100,000
Yeah,
subscribers?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about 110 now, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You've got quite a large gathering then, of quite a large community now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant, and the good thing is it's growing every day. We get 100 people a day subscribe, which is really great. I mean, I can't imagine being in a room with 100 people, let alone 100 people subscribing to hear me teach web development. So yeah, it's great. It's really great.
I recently read that PHPAcademy is soon to become Code Course. I'm curious to know how this will affect your existing content and channel on YouTube.
The short answer is it's not going to affect it at all, to be honest.
Okay.
The main reason for the name change was really, we've taken a step in a direction where we're teaching a lot of stuff now. And the name is a little bit misleading. So you can imagine someone coming along to PHPAcademy and saying it's just to do with PHP. And we want to push past that and focus on web development altogether. So everything's going to remain free. That's a real philosophy behind what I'm doing, is free education, and everyone, wherever you are, whoever you are, be able to come on, watch a video, and that I really want to keep that running through into Code Course. Mm-hmm. So in terms of that, nothing's going to be affected.
I see that's good then, because I know when you first started, was it just PHP tutorials that you offered?
Yes.
And then you started to branch out into all these other web development tools and languages like JavaScript and like Laravel and like CSS, HTML.
Yeah, Sass as well.
So,
and stuff like that.
So I see how that's to any new learner who wants to, basically someone who wants to learn web development. I can see that just PHPAcademy, they would just think they wanted to learn, PHP. Yeah, I see. That's good.
Yeah, because you said you started back in 2009, which you mainly focusing on PHP. Why did you actually begin to start with PHP in the beginning?
I mean, I think PHP is one of them languages where it's really easy to get started with. First of all, obviously, there's a danger of things going wrong because it's so easy to work with in terms of like security and best practices. But I mean, I actually came across, I can't remember how, but I came across a video teaching some PHP basics, and it was basically just probably some kind of login and register tutorial, something like along them lines. And as I was watching it and following along, you get that. I mean, probably every programmer's had this feeling. You get that feeling like, wow, what have I just done? That's really cool.
Definitely.
And you've just built something from essentially nothing. And you get that really good. So that sort of pushed me and let me carry on with PHP, and I learned more. And that's why I focused on PHP in the beginning and chose PHP Academy as the name.
Yeah, it is quite rewarding when you see when you're learning things. Sometimes at the beginning, if you're just writing hello world applications, you want to be able to create all these big, projects straight away.
Yeah.
So I like how you learn things and then you progress quite quickly, and you can build all these other things with like JavaScript and
absolutely
HTML. Yeah. They all work well together.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because you do. I mean, obviously, when you're working with PHP, you are writing some HTML, then probably moving on to styling things. So you're building up things. So you sort of branch out a little bit, and I think because it's the web, I think that really helps because, say you're learning like C or something like that, and you're on your computer, you write a little bit of code. And it's there, it's on your computer. It's hard to sort of ship around. And I think one of the things about PHP and the nature of the web is you can show it off to people wherever you are. Here's a link to something I've just built. And it's really easy to hand that around and sort of show off your work and be proud of it. So I think that's probably one of the reasons that PHP is so popular, first of all, yeah.
So for those who are looking to get started in web development, whether that's back-end languages like PHP or front-end ones like HTML and CSS, where would you recommend starting for someone who wants to get into web development? What would you recommend them to learn first, perhaps?
It's quite a difficult one because for the sheer reason that a lot of the time now you have sort of front and back end roles within companies. Not so much all the time. A lot of companies appreciate all rounders as well as specific skills. But I'd say whatever interests you the most, because back end and front end are so different. With front end, you have to have that design interest to be able to say, I want to write really nice semantic HTML. I want to write really clean styling, and I want it to also look really good. I think there's, I'm a front-end web developer in terms of the company I've worked for, and through that I've become really interested in design. In a typical project, we'd have designers work on that design, and then you just build it up. But through that, you sort of get interested in design. And saying that, though, both go, as I've already mentioned, hand in hand, because you build a web application and you need to do pretty much everything. You need the visuals and you need the backend. What I would do is really just start to play around with everything and just see where you end up. I think because I don't remember being more interested or less interested in one or the other, or starting at any particular point. I'd always tie them in together. So, but then if you're really interested in design, go down the HTML, CSS route.
So would you actually say that it helps to focus on aiming to build something instead of just going through the A's and C's? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
with a project in mind.
Definitely.
Final. Yeah.
What would you say is probably a good project to start on for beginners?
Again, I'm going to sort of give a sort of really generic answer and just say anything that interests you. There are a lot of problems that people want to solve for themselves. Why not just build that solution and see what you can do with that solution? Or take an existing project, maybe a site like Twitter, something that's fairly, at its core, it's very straightforward. You post something, other people can see it. Building something like that is always good because you then pick up a variety of different skills. Mm-hmm. But definitely your point on working on projects is really, I think that's such a good thing to do, because you then end up with a product that you never know could go somewhere. But second of all, you're working towards something rather than just learning loops and things like that.
Yeah, I would say that another key point is when you're first getting started is actually choosing the right tools. Because I know when I was first starting learning how to programming PHP, because I just know like bare bones of PHP. I was looking for the right tools, and I came across things like Sublime Text, which you actually, I think you like Sublime Text as well.
Sublime Text.
Yeah. But I was just thinking, what would you recommend for beginners in terms of tools and services? And that could be a text editor like Sublime Text or like an IDE.
I get this question quite a lot from people. It's one of them things where, some people almost assume that tools are going to make you a better developer. I mean, if you think about the bare bones of things, that all you really need to build something great is a text editor. Like, again, it's preference. Sublime I love because it's really clean, it's customizable, it's fast, it's portable. It's just a really, really good
it's great.
text editor.
Yeah.
Same with Nano that GitHub have built. Nano is pretty similar to Sublime, only on Mac at the moment, but again, another one I'd recommend. But I think with tools, you often see developers that say, I use this tool, I use this tool. They tend to be sort of seasoned developers that have, the pure knowledge of a language they're working with, but then they use the tools to speed up their workflow or, just enhance what they're doing.
Yeah.
For example, an IDE like PHP Storm, you can create classes super quickly, add your namespaces in there, and just really quickly work with things. But if you're a beginner, that actually holds you back because it's almost too complicated.
There's more to learn.
Absolutely.
I think just the language, you've got to learn the tools as well. Yeah,
I mean, if you strip something back as far as you can, use Sublime Text, use a browser, use a testing framework like PHP Unit, just the bare things that you need, you'll probably become a lot better at the language. But I mean, a tool that I've been using recently to speed up my front-end workflow is Emmet.
Okay.
And it basically just allows you to, it's fairly popular, but it allows you to create markup and bits and bobs just so quickly. And it's something that I wouldn't recommend for a beginner because you need to learn the structure of the language. You need to learn what attributes are. And it's pretty difficult to start with a tool like that. But in terms of beginners, strip it back, learn the language itself first. There's too much to learn already, despite adding more tools on top of what you already trying to learn. So that would be my advice to beginners.
Okay. So moving on to frameworks, because I know PHP Academy use there's tutorials for Laravel.
Yes.
But with so many different types of frameworks, it can be a daunting task to choose the right one. When someone wants to progress to the next level of PHP, usually a framework is the next step. What PHP frameworks would you recommend for beginners?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult one. The reason we started doing Laravel tutorials is obviously Laravel's become extremely popular really, really quickly. And I'm still learning it myself, so there's still a lot to learn there, best practices within using it. Yeah. I think when you start with a framework, it's so overwhelming because there's so much to learn. I mean, a lot of beginners will look at a framework and say, what's a model? What's a controller? I don't understand routing. I don't understand, what this even is. And there's a lot of micro frameworks like Slim, which is a micro PHP framework that really emphasize the basic nature of MVC, routing. You can even just get routing really just to test with that. But I think the reason Laravel is so popular is because beginners can approach it and it is pretty easy to get started with. But also it's really, really good for more advanced applications as well, and applications that do rely on heavy traffic.
So it's quite scalable.
Absolutely, yeah. But in terms of beginners, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on.
When I was, because I've only just recently started learning a framework, I chose Laravel, and about a month ago I was trying to get my head around the concepts of an MVC. And I think at first it seems like it's quite hard to grasp, but once you get to know models, views and controllers and how they all work seamlessly together, I think that's it. Basically, like, it opened a new world for me in PHP. It made me... I can see the benefits of why you would use a framework, because it speeds development up so quickly, especially with like Artisan, where you can create migrations and you can run commands really quickly, things like that. So yeah, Laravel is a very good framework.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, Alex, do you think frameworks are important in regards to scalability and collaboration? Because I know that on big projects you need to choose the right one, really. And this isn't necessarily for beginners. This can be like, anyone really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the good thing about frameworks is, you get a lot of people that will say, I don't want to use a framework, I want to write my own code. And I can't stress enough the importance of, before jumping onto frameworks as a beginner, learning the actual language itself. So at least you know what's going on behind the framework. And even when you do use a framework, learn behind the scenes, look at the code, look at what's happening, in there. Obviously, the majority of frameworks are going to be open source, so you can go in, you can just look at the code. So in terms of scalability and definitely collaboration, if you think about it this way, when you use a framework, say as part of a company or a large project, you're essentially using something that is constantly maintained, hopefully, by lots and lots of people. So you've got the aspect, the speed, the security, you've got all of the good parts of collaborating to the core of that framework going into your project as well. And you've also then, when you say to someone, hey, do you want to join my project, or can I come and work for my company, you've then got the knowledge base already there. Someone already knows how to jump into that framework. There's a website launched called Larajobs, which it's a job website specifically tailored around companies that use Laravel as a framework.
Yeah.
So, it just goes to show the power of why a framework is so good to use within a company or a project, because then you can just, recruit or ask people to come on board that already know what they're doing.
That makes total sense then.
Yeah.
You can just get people who would already know what they're doing, and they could
Absolutely.
hit the ground running, basically.
Yeah, because like PHP as it is quite an open language, as in there's not,
absolutely,
if you like, in the sense that there's a lot of ways to do things. It doesn't have like a strict set of steps which you'd create something with. So
exactly.
if you were in a company and you were working with other developers, frameworks would mean everyone's on the same page. Mm-hmm. You all know what's going on, and like you said, it's maintainable code, because everyone knows the framework.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with in-house frameworks. A lot of companies will do that. They'll build some kind of in-house. I mean, you could call it a framework, but they'll have there's a little bit more of a learning curve, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, the power of open source. Why would you not utilize that in the platform that you're building something on? It's such a good thing. You may as well utilize it.
Yeah, it always struck me as odd that when a company would do that, you would use a closed framework instead of using one that loads of people have been jumping on and adding
Absolutely.
to
as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't these big frameworks have more support? Surely, ones that are...
No, yeah, they definitely do. Like that's what baffles me.
Yeah.
Because you'd want the support if you're working on a project which is going to be available to the public. If you encounter something like that you need to like fix or something,
You can just get someone else to jump in, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and you could jump on Stack Overflow and say, I'm having a problem with Laravel or Cake PHP or whatever framework you're using.
Yeah.
And then someone will get back to you within 10 minutes and say, oh, here's a suggestion. And, already then you're not having to go around your internal team and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? It's, it's one of them things that's just a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, sure. So with technology and like web technology more specifically, moving so fast, it can easily become outdated quite quickly. So how would you say you stay up to date with the latest technologies? And do you think it's really important to keep ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of two sides to this. One is that it's almost, I mean, I certainly find it, and a lot of people I know have found this, is so overwhelming. The amount of new technologies, the amount of new ways of working, things in the web industry are changing so quickly that it is almost impossible to keep up with everything. But a couple of things that I do to keep up to date with everything is Twitter is a really good one, because a lot of people that are really passionate about what they enjoy. For example, on the front end, people like Bruce Lawson. There's a host of other people, that you can follow. They'll majority of the time tweet about things that are important to them in terms of the web. And, you just pick up these little bits of information. Oh, that looks interesting. Head over to that website, read that. And it's a constant stream of absorbing all of this new technology and things like that. And I think that's really important. And you can also then collaborate as well. You can ask a question. You can say, oh, I'm not sure about that. But I mean, aside from that, it's really about getting yourself out there. And a really good way to do this is create things, put them out open source. You'll learn things in terms of better ways to do things. And in terms of technologies, conferences are brilliant. Going to conferences, I think, is a great thing, because although you won't find everything interesting, you'll at least pick up, the general idea of where the web is moving towards. And it really, again, depends on if you're front or back end. Front end is moving probably a lot quicker rate, especially with HTML and CSS. In fact, even with JavaScript, it's moving at such a fast rate. More so than the back end. But, for example, go back to PHP, head onto the website, check out the versions, check out what's new in a version, and that's it. It's very, very clearly labeled. But I think front end moves quicker. Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think I've noticed a few devs who try to get themselves out there, try to get involved with, trying to keep up to date with tech and stuff like that, and different practices, is to practice the stuff and then put it out there. And even on places like YouTube, which is essentially what you're doing with PHP Academy. So yeah, I mean, like with actually PHP Academy, you're quite engaged with your community, which is a good thing. Do you think that this is important, to stay in touch with your audience and produce the videos and guides that they want?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if I didn't have an audience, I'd be sat at home talking to myself.
Yeah.
So, it's one of them things where if I'm not making things that people want, then what's the point? I mean, obviously someone else will find it useful. But it's always a good idea to gauge what people want. And I think being part of the community in terms of that, it is important. And I'm open to emails from people. It's not like I close myself off behind the company and just say, I'm not, I'm sort of removed from this, I'm not answering anything. I do know channels that are like that. They won't actually, they're sort of almost putting content out there and just saying, that's it. But yeah, I think it's good to chat to people. I think it's good to understand what people want. Otherwise, you can't move forward with things. And this sort of ties in with how quickly things are changing. I've noticed that a lot of people, as soon as Laravel started to get popular, it was, can we have Laravel tutorials? Can we have Laravel tutorials? So,
I think your latest videos are, is it Sublime? Is Sublime the latest?
Yeah,
ones?
I've put
It's
out
individual like tutorials for Sublime, and they like tips and tricks.
Yeah,
and things.
just Sublime tips really, just because I thought it's perhaps for a small little series, just little tiny videos, just with little tips, and I'm going to see how that goes, and if it's interesting, it can be short videos on other topics, and it's good to have little bite-sized videos that you can just digest, take with you, and learn things like that way. I think that's really cool as well.
Yeah. So we noticed you did a talk at the Google campus in London.
Yes.
Would you say it's important for developers to get out there and interact with the community? And do you think it's, as well as it being important, do you think this will help them, or maybe not just for new developers, but to get projects out there and things?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, I mentioned a little bit this earlier, but if you go to a conference, you almost feel like, you could be sat at home learning, and that other people out there are learning. But as soon as you go to a conference, the people that attend a conference are usually the kind of people that are social, and they want to talk, they want to share ideas, they want to ask questions, they want to answer questions. And when I did the talk in Google Campus for Untangle the Web, I sort of jumped at the opportunity to be around people physically that wanted to listen to what I wanted to say. And then I could answer questions, and I think that's really, really good. And I've been to conferences where I've learned so much, and I've met other people. You meet people, and you feel then that you're actually part of a community physically, because sometimes it's difficult being at home and trying to do things. So it's such a good thing. And the good thing is a lot of them are free, which is perfect. You don't have to pay a penny to go and learn things. And the one I did at Google Campus, Untangle the Web, is actually a free event. So you can jump along to that.
I suppose it's good to talk to people with the same interests as well.
Absolutely.
You could probably pick up things from other people that you can have discussions about certain projects, and you can probably pick tips and learn things from other people who are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say, to finally wrap things up, what guides or other projects do you have in the pipeline over the next few months?
Really, it's just focusing on Code Course. My main aim is to get it to a point where, at the moment, it's the PHPAcademy website is not as great as I'd want it. And I think with Code Course, I'm really just working with a few people. I'm working just to get it the best experience possible for the user. Because I think in the past, I've not thought about that as much as I probably should have. At the end of the day, it's humans going to the website and they want to learn something. So I'm going to try and really focus on that. And Code Course, we have an overwhelming amount to do on it. But once it is launched, it's going to be, hopefully, a really good place to just come and get tips. I'm working with authors. I'm working with people that really want to teach.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully just getting as much content out there and keeping it free so people can grab it.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have a place where people can go to Code Course to check it out, or is it a bit too early for that?
It is. At the moment, it's not live anywhere. There's nothing. All that it is a domain. So unfortunately, people can't go and check it out. But if you want to keep up to date with it, we're going to tweet about it. So you can head over to Twitter, and once it's launched, we're going to do a little bit of a beta on it and let people test it out, and then we'll go from there and just and see how it goes.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming along, Alex, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Good luck with PHPAcademy and Code Course.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers.
For those that stuck around, we're offering a special offer at CDNify. Get 30% off any plan for the first 3 months when using the code PHPAcademy30 over at cdnify.com/pricing. That's PHPAcademy30.